Hello, everybody. Welcome to What You Need to Know. I am Sybil Wilkes, and I am talking to you on this Tuesday. We are 8 weeks away from Election Day, ladies and gentlemen. 8 weeks from today. And we are keeping an eye out, and as we seek to inform and empower every day through the What You Need to Know newsletter, talking about the political situation as well as our cultural situation. And it is a great opportunity for you all to join in our conversation too. Want to know what you're thinking as we are now 8 weeks out for the What You Need to Know newsletter. Every day we endeavor to talk political as well as social. And sometimes some sports and sometimes some pop culture. Definitely, always we talk business and finance. We talk health and wellness, and it is a great opportunity for us to stay involved in terms of news making and who's making news and what the news is that's being shared. And if we can get the adults in the room to sit still, then we can go forward.
Sorry, Seb.
For those who do not subscribe to the What You Need to Know newsletter, please go to SybilWilkes.com. That's SYBILWILKES, like Sybil, like the crazy girl, Wilkes, like John Wilkes Booth. Give us your name and your email address. You don't have to give us your birthday unless you just want us to have that and give you a shout out, because we do birthday shout outs too.
All right.
But definitely, please go to SybilWilkes.com and subscribe to our newsletter. We appreciate that. And we appreciate you being here with us each Monday through Thursday evening at 6 o'clock, and also on YouTube and Facebook. So, as I mentioned, we have a young fella joining us today who is an old familiar friend and name, Kevin Woodson, one of the original members of the Tom Joyner Morning Show. You may remember him for not only for his just incredible wealth of knowledge. He's probably one of the smartest and most history profound people that I know. But he's also a very funny fella, and you know him by his voice and the many voices that he has given us over the years. Hello, Kevin Woodson.
Sybil Wilkes, hello, and you read that like I wrote it. Yes, you did.
I try to do that. I try
You
to.
do you do wonderfully.
I don't know if everybody saw it today, and I hope that they did. Those who do subscribe to the newsletter, but Kevin Woodson was a contributor today to our newsletter and talking about the great Lou Brock, who passed away this weekend
Oh yeah.
at the age of 81. And Kevin wrote a beautiful piece about this, and so. We'll get to that, Kevin. I want to talk to you about the news in terms of what's going on in our number one story. And I know you're not necessarily a Dallas football fan, but definitely you are a fan of sports and definitely all things St. Louis. But being in the area of Dallas Fort Worth, I know that you are. It's hard to get away from those Dallas Cowboys, isn't it? And any
Yeah,
news
actually
about them.
actually I am a Cowboy fan. I have problems with the owner
Okay,
and
okay.
some things, but yes, I am.
Okay. Well, that I did not know. And,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and I don't know if that is something that's new. I knew that you were like a Rams fan and all things
When
St.
they were in
Louis.
St. Louis.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
Um, and even our friend Guy Torrey, who asked me to say hello the other
Yeah.
day, is is
Yeah.
is still a Rams fan now that they have moved out to his neck of the woods in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not know that you were a Dallas Cowboy fan. So this is perfect because America's team now is moving in a new direction, perhaps as a result of pressure, perhaps an awakening, an enlightenment, if you will. But according to reports, Dak Prescott and the owner, Jerry
Mm-hmm.
Jones, are pushing for the members of the Dallas Cowboys to make decisions for themselves regarding protests during whatever form they choose during the national anthem. Over the years, when this first started, Jerry Jones had a moment, one game where they all came out together. They took a
We're
knee.
all going to go outside and we're going to kneel down.
That's exactly the
That's
way that
exact.
went.
We're going to kneel down.
That's scary how good you do that. But not surprising because you are the man of 1,000 voices, if not 10,000 voices. So they did that, and now reportedly the team leadership has given all of the players the green light to protest or to take a knee in or whatever form they choose to. He says, Dak Prescott said, that's what this country is about, the freedom to do that, the freedom to express yourself. As we heard Mr. Jones talk about grace and sharing grace and having grace with others in what they want to do. If I had it my way, that's exactly what we do and express ourselves individually, but love and support one another collectively. So the question is, Kevin,
Uh-huh.
is whether you think that Dak will join others who have wanted to take a knee but felt as though they were being pulled back from actually expressing themselves. Do you think he will, or do you think he will continue to stand and not acknowledge where we are in this country and what's going on?
Well, they say pressure makes water run uphill, Sybil.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And I definitely think that. I was real disappointed with Dak Prescott. And I'm a Dak Prescott fan.
mm-hmm.
With Colin Kaepernick, he kind of took the I'm gonna watch my language, but the
Yeah.
other way out. And now it's almost like, and it's still, I gotta say it sounds like a plantation mentality type
Mm-hmm,
thing. Like now
mm-hmm.
that he's been released to say something, it's like, oh, I can say it now. So I think Dak will. I mean, I can't get this head, but I think he will uh, take a knee or show some evidence of protest, as he should. But that's
Mm-hmm.
something you should have known right off the bat. I mean, you're a good player. You're not just barely making the team. So I'm trying to eliminate the barely hanging on factor.
Sure.
So you got a nice fat contract. Nobody knew about COVID, but hey, you know. But I mean, step up, brother. Say something. You've got the
Yeah.
leverage. Do it. And that's what I was waiting to hear at first, but I didn't. So I'm like, come on, I'm waiting now.
And I think that's going to be something that even those of us that are still not supporting football, and that would be because Colin Kaepernick has not been allowed to really to try out for a team. Whatever they call that was last year, that wasn't it. And
No, no.
so that's the real reason why I would watch the games over the weekend. And
Hmm.
especially as the Cowboys take on the aforementioned Los Angeles Rams Sunday night. Um, I'm looking to see if these guys like Dak will step up and make some sort of gesture,
You and me both.
symbolic as however it may be.
You and me both. Something they should have done right off the bat, if you
Mhm,
ask me. I know everybody doesn't think like me. That must save the world, I guess. But
mhm.
at some time, you should take a stand. And I don't know why it took till now. Uh, and I'm glad that people are uniting to do this. But at the same time, it's like you're real late to the party.
Mhm.
But okay, the door's still open. Come on in. Let's do the right thing.
Yeah. Are you surprised about the way other team sports have taken a stand and really moved forward very proactively in letting people know and in supporting those, especially in the wake of the murders of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor? And now we can continue to add names to that list. Are you surprised
Sadly.
about like basketball? They are moving up and have stepped up especially in this post this postseason, the
Hmm.
elongated basketball season and WNBA as well.
Yes and no. I tell you what really would have surprised me if they had sprayed Black Lives Matter on the ice. That would that would have surprised the hell out of me, Sybil Wilkes. But the NBA almost had no choice, and that was a great going, to put Black Lives Matter there on the court. But it
Mhm.
really did my heart good, being the tremendous hockey fan that I am, that I saw, my man Ryan Reeves take a knee, and a number of other players, both black and white that were in the league. Of course, not that racism doesn't exist in Canada, because we know it's everywhere, but
Sure.
It's something about being above that. What is that? The 39th parallel. It seems that they get it a little better than we do down here, or the other folks, I should say, get it down here. It's the same message, but they seem to get it better. So when I did see that in hockey, I wasn't super surprised. I was like, there they go. Okay.
It might surprise people, but those of us who know and love you, Kevin Woodson is an incredible hockey aficionado. He is, as I would say, even bigger than baseball or some of your other favorite sports, and with the exception of bull riding.
Well, rodeo period, but yes,
Yeah,
yes,
okay,
yes, yes,
okay.
yes, yes.
That you are just a major hockey fan. How did that, just parenthetically, how did that come about?
Well, when I was a kid, I mean, I'm a big baseball and football fan
Yeah,
too. But when I was a kid, and me and my buddies, we were about 10 years old, and we started playing street hockey. And then the Blues came along, and that just did it for us, because we knew we had the St. Louis Braves at the time. And if I'm not mistaken, the Braves were you guys in Chicago. They were the
yeah,
Blackhawks farm club. Yeah.
right,
And
right.
we had them, and because of the Wirtz family in Chicago, they owned the St. Louis Arena, and they kind of put in a little greasy palm good word for the Blues, because they were slated to go to Baltimore, and they end up coming to St. Louis. So yeah, it just started as a kid, and believe it or not, it's like I tell people, it's a lot of brothers that love hockey. Now, somebody
Yeah,
may say, where?
yeah.
If you get a book, it's by Daryl and Bob Fosty. I think it's called Black Ice.
Uh-huh.
It's been accredited by the NHL. It's some fantastic information. They tell you that a brother named Eddie Martin invented the slap shot. And these are two Canadian white guys talking. Not that makes it official, but I'm just saying, it's not like, hey, and they just tell you a number of things. And they said that they had records of black people playing hockey in Canada going back to the 1870s. So again, we were there.
Yeah, Kevin, I don't know if we talked about this, but there was a young black man who did a documentary, and I believe it was called Soul on Ice. For some reason that sticks in my head. But it was a few years ago, not that long ago,
Mhm.
but a few years ago, in which he talked about the roles of black folks, black men in hockey, and the Willie O'Ree's kind
Yes,
of,
Willie Reed.
going
Yeah.
back to those folks, and I think I would love to see you do something like that, and
Ooh.
to interview like all of the as far back as they go, those that are still alive, and perhaps teammates of theirs, to talk about you, especially from your perspective as such a longtime fan of the sport.
Oh yeah. John Saunders from ESPN did
Yeah, the late
a
John
special
Saunders.
years
Yeah,
ago. Late
yeah,
John Saunders, he did a special on black. Matter of fact, John Saunders, if I'm not mistaken, was from Toronto.
yeah. He was a
So he
Canadian.
was,
Yeah,
or as they
yeah.
would say, Toronto. So John Saunders grew up playing a lot of hockey. But yeah,
hmm
that would be something. Well, we're on your show, Sybil Wilkes, and it goes out far and wide. So there may be somebody that will contact me with the financial means of putting together that very documentary you're talking about hockey and black folks. That's great. I'll
Thanks to
do it.
our producer, it was called Soul on Ice, Past, Present, and Future. It was a documentary directed, produced, and written by Damon Kwame Mason. It was from 2016 and tells the story
Oh
of the
yeah.
Colored Hockey League and the history of black
Yes.
players in ice hockey in the United States and Canada. Thank you.
Yes.
Um, uh, for some reason, and it was so good. It was so compelling to me, Kevin, and it made me think about you and
Mhm.
from your perspective and giving your input as such a fan. I just think that would be good, and maybe maybe one day we could produce that together and do
Maybe
that.
Guy Torrey will help me out, my fellow St. Louis, and give me some money. And we
Okay,
can put our dollars together and we can do this.
okay,
I'm
okay.
throwing that out,
Well,
hinting the guy.
well,
Okay.
well, put his dollars together
His
and.
dollars, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we'll put Guy Torrey's dollars and Joe Torrey's dollars.
Okay, okay.
That's right. That's right.
And while we're at it, let's get Cedric the Entertainer, all
Oh,
your
look,
St. Louisans
my
and
man
men.
said, my
That's
man
right.
said, come on. Let's
That's
do this
right.
thing.
That's right. And make it a
Niecy
Saint,
Nash, come on.
make it a Lou production.
That's right. We'll call it a Dizzy Lou production. Yep.
You got me.
You,
Okay,
you
you got
like
my.
that, Sib?
Yeah,
You
yes, I
like
did.
that?
Yes,
Okay.
I did. Yes, I
Stay
did.
with me, Sib. It's your show.
Oh, Kevin, I do miss you.
Ooh.
I do miss you.
Oh,
We used to have the best times, and we'll talk about that. But Kevin
oh
and I,
yeah.
when we started the Joiner Show, and we were over at the first building off of Coit, and Kevin and I were in what we called the news closet. It was a
Yes.
very small little area. I was doing news, and Kevin was doing sports, and then Kevin
I
would do
sat
all of
next
his.
to the bucket with the mop in it. The other brother bucket.
As Kevin was referred to, yes.
The other brother, yes.
um, we
Yogi loves that one.
and it's so true. We just started out as this little merry band of people who worked together and ate together and
Hmm.
met together every day. And Kevin came from St. Louis. Tom brought him from St. Louis, and Kevin's family came. Brought me from Chicago. Doug and Yolanda came from the West Coast, and Yolanda returning home to Texas, and it was a great time. It was a really great
We
time.
were like the
Yeah.
little rascals on steroids. It was great. That was fan. The great some of the great among the greatest memories of my life. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Those are really good days. Kevin, speaking of some not so good days, and I
Oh.
hate to make this hard left
Hmm.
or a really rough right.
That's all
Um,
right. I'm with the Sip.
But
All right.
in the newsletter, we talk. I give a couple of updates on what's going on in our country, especially regarding to our black men. An
Yeah.
update on Jacob Blake, as well as what is happening with the family of Daniel Prude. Now we know that Jacob Blake was a young man who was shot 7 times in the back. A black man shot
Hmm.
7 times in the back by a white police officer in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Rustin Shesky was his name. This was two
Hmm.
weeks ago, and went into Jacob's hospital room the other day, and he made a very powerful video and a powerful appeal to his peers, and said, "I just want to say to all those young cats out there, and even the older ones, and you just gotta love a guy who calls them
Yeah.
cats, you
Yeah.
know."
That uses cats in 2020.
Right,
I
right.
thought it was only me.
Well, this cat is considerably younger than we are, Kevin.
Yes.
But
Yes.
he said that there's a lot more life to live out there. Now, this is a young man who is sitting there, as I said, shot 7 times, has had numerous
Yeah.
surgeries. Don't know how many surgeries he's had, and he is paralyzed at the
Yeah.
waist. And so he talked about his constant pain, even while he eats, while he sleeps, while he is breathing. He
I
said,
could
"You don't
imagine.
want to
Only
have to
imagine.
deal with this, right? I'm telling you, change your lives out there. We can stick together, make some money, and make everything easier for our people."
And you
That
know
was,
what?
yes,
Well, I was just going to say, Sib, that's a great plea from somebody who actually wasn't doing anything.
yeah, yeah. That's
Of
the
all
other thing.
things.
Yeah. They are still trying to make him out to be this bad guy, and he has been charged, Kevin, but we don't know about his what that situation was. And so he also, the day before this Saturday video came out, he was appearing in a virtual courtroom setting. He was in court via video, pleading not guilty to domestic charges that were filed in July. And as some of the stories go, he was there to break up a fight between two
Yeah.
women, and may have broken a protective order and violated that. But he was there with his children, and he was trying to get out of there and get his kids out of harm's way. And when this happened, and of course, his children, who are, I believe, the ages of 8, 5, and 3,
Oh,
three
yeah.
little
Little
boys.
kids. Yeah.
Amongst his children, these three were with him, and they saw their father. And the oldest one, was celebrating his birthday, and
Yeah.
this is what happened on his 8th birthday. So
Yeah.
that is the Jacob Blake. Kevin, I hate to ask this. Does any of this surprise you anymore?
Nope. That was a quick answer. It doesn't surprise me. This is, I tell people all the time, this is as old, this goes back before my great granddaddy's great granddaddy.
Hmm.
But many white Americans think that, well, if you just follow the rules and
Right.
say, sir, and this is not, no, it's not. It's not, it has nothing to do with that. I mean, I was watching, well, we've all seen it. I saw a thing on World Star
Hmm.
just the other day. I think it was in Minneapolis. I can't remember, but it wasn't an act. A sister filmed this on her cell phone, and
Hmm.
this white boy cursed the cops out. He was
Yes.
all in the white. Do you know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I've
And
seen.
and
I'm not sure if this is the exact one, but I've seen a number of these. Yes.
oh yeah, yeah, we've seen the white guy running around naked. That where everybody was
Hmm.
chasing him, and everything like that. You let me run around naked, and
Right.
I'll
Well, you get
I'll be.
some applause too, Kevin.
Well,
But
I'm
yeah.
glad, but after that applause, you'll hear pow, you know.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
yeah, and so no, it doesn't surprise me. And I think a lot with the advent of cell phones and cameras, a lot of white Americans who've been in denial, and there are those that still are. They're called
Yeah.
Trump supporters. But anyway,
Yeah.
a lot of them that are still in denial. They look at things like that, and it's kind of like, wow, and they
Hmm.
can't explain them all away because as soon as a brother gets in trouble, it's like a game show. Search for incrimination, and
Right.
and
Yeah.
they start going back to when you're in the third grade and you got an extra little milk out the milk carton. That was in the third grade.
Hmm.
And
A
even
life
though
of
he's
crime. Yes.
exactly, even though he's 57 when this recent incident happened. So
Hmm.
no, it doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, that's America, and unlike Nikki Haley talking about America's not racist,
Yeah.
America was founded on a cesspool of racism. That's just what it was. That'll rile some people. I don't care. It's the truth. When I start lying, then you get riled. But it was. I mean, what do you think slavery was? Just a handshake in the deal? I mean, it was
Right.
racism. So anybody that doesn't get that, yeah, too bad. And
As I say, Kevin is a great historian. And Kevin, did you get your master's in history or in Black
no, I
history?
didn't. No, I
Okay.
didn't. I just enjoy history because I'm like, if you kind of know what's going on, people just can't put the same BS over you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you kind of have to know what they're talking about because somebody might tell you, oh yeah, like when Trump gets up and he says I created the entire veterans choice. And no, you didn't. Obama put that in 2014. You lying. Quit
Right.
lying. You're a red-haired, tan, orange liar. I call him the Fresh Prince of Orange Hair. That's my deal. But yeah, he's lying. So when you know things as well as Sybil, you can kind of go,
Hmm.
you lying.
Let me ask you this, off topic, but certainly related to this. With the debates that are coming up between the
Mm.
presidential candidates, one with the vice presidential candidates, but the others, the majority will be with the presidential candidates, and they're talking about obviously the debates will be live, but they're also
Mhm.
talking about having fact checking during the debates because of the way that the facts are twisted by the
Yep.
White House. And so, what do you think about that?
Look, be prepared for a night of. That's it. Look, because
Right.
that's what they do. One of the greatest courses, as you mentioned, school in my grad school career, it was Professor Cecil Blake, Dr.
Mm.
Cecil Blake, and it was a propaganda course. And it broke down just how messages are tailor made. Because I always say it's called political science because it's a science of being able to organize and disseminate a message and get enough people like the Pied Piper to follow your ad. I'm sorry, to follow you.
You're able to say that, Kevin. You can speak freely.
Oh well, shit then. So you didn't tell me. I'm 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 sitting up here. I'm sitting up here putting on the dog. I don't want you off the air or something. Yeah. I mean, tell me something. But anyway, it's all about how messages are disseminated and how people, if you place it just right, people will follow you just like the Pied Piper.
Hmm.
And that was just so interesting to me. And you see it unfolding, I mean, in every way. And so fact checking would be great. But of course, this is where it gets real scary.
Uh,
Because when you tell people the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, if somebody they believe comes along and tells them, it veers a little south from time to time, especially in the fall, the winter solstice, they'll believe that.
Mm-hmm.
They'll believe that. And you can say, look, we'll go to an astronomer. Nope, the astronomer's a liberal. He's not going to tell me the truth.
Right.
So it gets like this
Fake
further
news.
and further disconnect, and nobody gets anywhere because somebody's just bought into, all this propaganda. So, yeah, I would love to see fact check. I tell you what I would love to see.
What's that?
I would love to. I'm going to have a glass of buttermilk and a thing of gummy bears when Kamala Harris debates Mike Pence.
Yeah.
I'll love to see. That's going to be like the Ali Frazier fight.
I would love to see a tag team in which they would have both candidates, both the presidential and the vice presidential, and just have Joe just tag out. And I'm going to take both Pence and Trump on at the same time. I believe that.
Sybil, I think you're on to something. We could be like the next Vince McMahon, like the WWE. We could start tag team debating. I think it was said right here on the Sybil Wilkes Show. That's it. We could start tag team debating. We could sell tickets. Oh, Sybil, let me work on that for a week.
What you need to know right here.
That's it.
Kevin, and talking about what is happening to our Black men and continuing on that topic, despite a call by the New York Attorney General Letitia James for a grand jury to consider evidence in the death of Daniel Prude, protests are continuing in Rochester. Just 5 months after the murder of Daniel Prude, was his family able to get the video of the March 23rd strangulation of the Black man by Rochester police. He was called, the family has called for the firings of and charges to be placed against the police. Some 6 or 7 Rochester police officers have been put on suspension with pay as they investigate this case. Why is it taking them since March 23rd to complete this investigation, or to even really start one fully, is a great question. And why did it take this long for the family and their attorneys to be able to get the video they have been asking for, in which the 41-year-old Black man was arrested, knowing that he was in some sort of mental agitation, and had taken off his clothes, walking down the streets of Rochester after his brother had called police for help. He was charged, was in the process of being charged. He was spitting at the police. They put this, what they call a spit hood, over him.
Yeah.
Because they said he told them that he had coronavirus. So they said they were doing this out of an abundance of caution. And as they tried,
you shouldn't have been on his deck. You should have been social distancing.
Right.
And put him in the pickup truck and take him to jail because he'd have still been alive.
Right, exactly. But in the process, as he has this hood on him, they put him to the ground. This is Rochester in March, and you can see the snow coming down as this is all happening. And at some point, he stopped breathing. The strangulation, and they have at least 3 of the policemen, one at his head, one at his torso, one at his legs, and these people were keeping him face down into the ground, and ultimately they strangled him. That is what the family is alleging. And so he went into cardiac arrest. He was put on life support and then taken off of life support when he died a week later, March 30th. Now, fast forward to the beginning of September, and the family just gets this information, just gets the video, and now the Black female Attorney General for the state of New York has called for a grand jury. It's too little, too late. I know that, but there's just too many questions, and the fact that today it was announced that the chief of police and the deputy have both resigned.
Yeah, that's how it always goes.
The Rochester Police Department.
That's called the oops move, or the oh shit move. That's what it's called. Right. But know what? When it comes to abuse of Black folks, like you said, that happened in March. This is now what, the 8th of September.
Yep.
And and tapes of black people being abused pop up like Prince recordings at Paisley Park. They start getting, they start finding, oh, look at this one in the vault, and they
Yeah.
start coming up with all these, incidents. And you're like, oh,
Hmm.
wait a minute, because I looked at the thing when I saw it, and I'm like, where the hell is it snowing right now in September?
Right.
Maybe this is in Canada. And
Right.
I mean, deep northern Canada, and it's
Hmm.
like, oh, this is going back to March. And
Yep.
I'm like, what the hell is this? But see, again, I mean, it's all kind of tapes. I'm sure you would know an escrow of this happening.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And Kevin, what you were talking about before, going back to thank God
Hmm.
for phones and opening up the eyes of white folks, especially
Hmm.
the Ahmaud Arbery, how that was recorded by those men, including the man who was a part of this team, and George Floyd, and that really opened up a lot of folks' eyes.
You know
That.
what? Uh, with that, when I saw, what was his name, Roddy the Klansman, or whoever he was, Roddy somebody that was on CNN that they interviewed, that Chris
Hmm.
Cobo interviewed,
Yeah.
that stank from the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, he wouldn't let him answer the simplest questions, his attorney wouldn't. And I'm like, and then again, there's no panic in your voice. If I saw Bigfoot and I'm filming, I'm gonna be, oh damn, I'm gonna be saying, I'm gonna be whispering, saying something,
And you're going
but
to
you
hear
just,
all of this on the recording, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
filming like Spike Lee, not saying a word, and just filming the thing, like, I
Quiet
got
on
it
the
on tape,
set.
boys,
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
crazy. When you also said that, speaking of lying, what was the couple's name right in my town of St. Louis?
Oh yeah. The
That
the
pulled
the,
the,
the guns. Yeah.
the good
Yeah.
Trump supporters. Well, first of
Right.
all, uh, uh, how do I know they're lying? Let me count the ways, Sybil. I know where they were. That gate is always open. That gate was
Mm.
never, it's
Mm.
always open. The second thing, Sybil, if you notice, they had that concrete fence where they were dining.
Mhm.
Okay, if you were dining, why did they have film footage of the husband inside the fence and the wife outside with her, her pistol by herself,
Right.
left to
Right.
those savage? Why weren't you out there with your? Well, I mean, he eventually was out there with his woman, but why was she ever left alone? Then the
Right.
other, I mean, there's so many holes in that. Uh, he said that the guy walked up with his AR-15 and put his clip in and said, "This is for you." And I'm, this old corny stuff. He said, first of all, when have you seen anybody walk around with an AR-15 clipless? If you got an AR-15,
Okay.
a clip is
You
even if you don't have any bullets, Sybil Wilkes, the clip is in the damn gun.
and you know
So,
this.
so it's like, so that it's like, oh, again, like that fact check.
Mhm.
We know that wasn't the case. And as a piece of trivia, the
And
guy
let me
Al
just
Watt,
say, let me just say, Kevin, that's McCloskey's. Mark and Kat
McCloskeys.
McCloskey.
Yes,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
weren't friends of mine, so I didn't know their names. But the McCloskeys, but their attorney at the time, that was on CNN, Al
Mhm.
Watkins, used to actually come in my dorm room. He got me a job one time, Sybil and college. We went to college together.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so he got me a
Wow.
job one time. I used to sell hot dogs in front of Busch Stadium at Cardinal football games.
Is that right?
Through that
Wow.
same guy. It's amazing
Wow.
how just things come around full circle.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Mhm.
so they were lying. They were lying. Those people were marching to the mayors. They saw them, and I bet you, and ran in, got their guns, and got to join with people, and the rest is history. And they made it to the
And made it to
Republican
the
convention.
Republic. That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. So
Absolutely right. That's amazing and
boy, if
sad.
lightning strikes liars, we're gonna run out of lightning bolts.
Right, right. Kevin, how has the coronavirus affected you, this pandemic? How have you been affected?
I'm good, Sybil. I'm real good. I'm real. Sybil, look here. You say those Cardinals said,
I
Uh,
see.
you know what? Look, I'm going to listen to scientists.
Hmm.
It's a guy tomorrow coming to my place to fix my modem, to give me a new modem. I'm
Hmm.
not going to try to tell him his business. He knows better than I do. So again, I think we have no leadership. We've already known that. So when the red-haired clown doesn't wear a face mask, that says to other folks, well, I'm a man too. What was the guy that
Mm.
was uh, he was the Navy SEAL that they say actually captured Bin Laden.
Oh, right. Yes.
Remember,
Yeah.
he just got put off a plane. I know you saw that one.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
I won't tell you
For
what he
refusing
said he
to.
wasn't,
Yeah.
but he said he wasn't, a little baby kitten or kitty
Right.
cat.
Right.
And
Right.
he got put off the plane. I mean, Corona doesn't care about you being macho.
Right.
Look, The Rock got Corona,
Okay.
you
Okay.
know, and
Yeah.
and other than Rock, well, other than me, how much more macho can you get?
Other than
You didn't.
you, he's
That's
next
right,
in
and be
line.
The
He's just
Rock.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah, yeah,
Tell
yeah.
Yolanda she didn't have to laugh that heartily when I said that, but I'm saying if The Rock can get it, I mean, gee whiz,
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, it's real, it's out there, and I was what was that, Northeastern University, not your alma mater,
No, it was
Northwest.
Northeastern. Yeah,
I did,
in
yes. Let's
Boston.
clarify that right now.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes.
That's right. And I think they're putting those 11 kids out, and they're not getting their money back,
They're
so they
not
say.
getting, yeah, they're sending them
And you
home,
know what?
and we're keeping your parents' money.
That's right. And don't get me wrong, I don't know all the facts, but as we said here on the Sybil Wilkes show,
Hmm.
I say damn right, keep their damn money.
Yeah,
Keep
I do
every
too.
penny of it. Because your ass knew when you went to college not to go to I know you want to go to parties, but it's
Hmm.
Corona. It's
Right.
Corona. I mean, it's out here. That's why I say
Kevin, let
folks
me
should try to.
ask you,
Mhm.
as the parent of an incredible young woman, what would you have done? Hello, Leah Woodson Mitchell. What would you have done in terms of sending her to school, or to if she was in college, or even if she had been in grammar school or high school when this had happened? What would you have done?
We'd have been right on Zoom, or she'd have been wrapped up in bubble wrap like the mummy.
Hmm.
One
Hmm.
of the two, and going to school. But yeah, more than likely on Zoom.
Yeah,
And she works. She's a
and she's
speech
a teacher.
pathologist. Well,
Yeah.
she's a speech pathologist and works in a school.
Uh huh.
But Leah's got her mask on and her what is it? Her visor, and
Uh
that's
huh.
just over Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
true.
I mean,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
she's got it ready for when they come back, because
Mhm.
it's a real deal. And then what kills me, and we talk about white privilege now, is
Mhm.
when white folks got their AR-15s and they thought that white privilege was those that did it. I'm talking about that
Mm.
they thought that white privilege was just going to run Corona on away.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
tired of being
Yeah.
quarantined. I'm
Yeah.
going to give
Yeah.
that governor a piece of my mind.
Right.
And not one person was shot, tased, beaten,
No.
none of that.
No.
None of that.
Oh my God. Just think about Michigan. All of
That's
those
what I'm
people
talking about.
who were there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Absolutely.
called
Absolutely.
against the Democratic governor. So people are call themselves trying to get back to normal, Kevin, and I'm not one of them.
Hmm.
As much as I love going to the movies, I have chosen not to.
I
Um,
understand.
I know people who have. I've chosen not to travel on an airplane. I know people who have, but those who have or were in the airports over this holiday weekend, they say nearly 1 million people traveled through U.S. airports on Friday alone, kicking off the Labor Day holiday weekend and setting a new high, a new record as we are in this pandemic era. During the same day 1 year ago, TSA screened over 2 million people. So you see, obviously, a 50% drop there. And people are warning them of what could come out of this past weekend. And as we know, as we've seen, as the colleges and universities have opened up and the numbers have gone up, some schools, closing down altogether.
Hmm.
One of my goddaughters is at school in Illinois, and she was a freshman. She's a freshman,
Hmm.
and they chose to send her down there. They took her down, and she's in quarantine now because her
Yeah.
friend has coronavirus,
Ooh.
and still going to class, doing everything online, but she has to
Hmm.
be quarantined because of a friend who came down with the virus, and they're asking people not to go home because you don't want to spread that to your family. family, obviously,
Exactly.
but you also don't want your child down at school alone,
Right.
hundreds, maybe 1,000 miles away,
Right. Yeah.
and going through this alone. So that's more than a notion for folks, and we're going to see how this all comes about. I think I want to say it was Victoria and David Beckham. They announced that they came down with coronavirus because they went to an LA party.
See,
You see all of
look,
these
see,
things.
I love to party,
Yes,
but
you are.
I can get my freak on Zoom if I gotta, you know. I mean, I don't want no coronavirus if I can avoid it.
Hmm.
If I get it, let it be something like, okay, well, I didn't know I was getting it, but doggone it. Look at Sturgis, South Dakota.
Yeah,
The
the
bikers
bike
just
rally.
had to
Yep,
Zoom,
yep.
and I think I saw somewhere there were 260 cases that
So
they could
far.
trace back to that.
Yep.
And it's like in the beginning, it's like they told your ass to stay at home. You knew better than that,
No, no.
but you just had to go.
Right.
I ain't gonna let no corona stop me, buddy. you know, and okay, and then there you go,
Yeah, yeah.
and you
Kevin.
wonder why I can't get back to so-called normal.
Right, right. And speaking of normal, are you venturing out? Are you going to restaurants? Are you still a carry out guy? Or are you cooking on your own?
Look, I went to a drive-by barbecue on Labor Day.
Uh-huh.
I drove by, rolled my window down quarterways, got my food, I was gone.
Right. And had
So
your
no,
mask on too.
yes, when I went in a restaurant for the first time since March, as far as to sit down and eat,
Was that?
Leah, Leah and I,
Wow.
we went to a restaurant and we went to where was it? Uh, well, I forgot this Saturday. I'm thinking too fast. But we went to and I said to Leah, I said, "You don't want to get in and go?" She says, "No, we can eat here, Daddy." And it was real spaced out. It wasn't a lot of people in there.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, the reason why I ask is because the restaurants obviously have paid a price for the pandemic. A lot of
yes,
businesses have gone under, and especially this is in our business and finance section.
hmm
Black-owned restaurants are
oh yeah,
really have felt the effects of this. Black and brown restaurant owners. Um, you were seeing a wonderful increase in their numbers before the pandemic, and now they have begun to just really suffer, as you know. Millions of people are out of jobs, and all of the restaurant owners are. Some who did not get the first wave of stimulus money to help them in their businesses, and it has been a horrific time for them. And so the suggestion is that some of these companies, these restaurants, do as some of the white companies have done and issue dining bonds, and it works like discounted gift cards. So if you
yeah.
buy a bond for, say, let's say $75, and it's worth $100, and you will be able to redeem it next month in 30 days. This is in effect giving the businesses a donation of sorts, a sign of goodwill that they are still going to be in business and will be able to help them stay in business. And so,
Sybil, I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead,
no,
go
that's
ahead.
it. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say that's a good idea, but
Hmm.
you know there will be some brother coming back on June of 2026 saying he paid good money for his bond and he can't and gonna show off and act a damn fool
Yeah,
wanting to know why he can't get something he bought back in 2020, 6 years from now.
right.
So it's a good
Yeah,
idea. I like that.
yeah, I would love to help them as much as possible. And Lord knows, as a woman who has a drawer in my kitchen that is reserved, especially for takeout menus,
Oh
I
yes,
have I
Civil
have
War.
a
That's
great
right.
deal of
That's right.
respect for restaurants, and so
Do you still
uh,
use your oven to store books, Sybil?
yes, sir, yes, sir.
See, people think I'm kidding when I say that.
No.
That's why I'm going to start collard greens to go. See, you got to, you see, I'm telling all kind of ideas are flying here. We're on the
Mhm,
internet, Sybil.
mhm,
People are
mhm,
gonna,
mhm,
hey,
mhm.
But that's a good idea. But please, brothers, don't go back there 13 years later thinking that your
Okay.
card is still redeemable.
So that's word to the wise. And speaking of word to the wise, this is an opportunity to thank Kevin for his wonderful words that he wrote for today's What You Need to Know newsletter. I asked him to do this because I know that he is a baseball fan and he is a
Yes.
fan of all things St. Louis. And he wrote a wonderful piece in honor of the late, great Lou Brock, as he calls him, the base burglar,
The base
Sweet Lou's
burglar.
Brock. So stand up. Can you stand up, Kevin, so people can
Yes, I
see
can, Sybil Wilkes. You wanted to see that.
Yes, and can you turn around a
Oh,
second?
turn around.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, whoa, Kevin. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Sybil Wilkes. Sorry, Sybil. Did you want me to twerk? I mean,
no.
if I got this.
No, thanks. I'm gonna have to have a beverage here.
Okay, that's all right, Sybil Wilkes. That's all serious. That's okay.
What I was hoping people could see is that you are bearing the number of Lou Brock and his name.
Well, wait a minute. What did they see, Sybil? Did I have a hole in my pants?
Kevin, it was more than we had bargained for. But,
well,
let's just say that some of your best days are not behind you.
Good.
So here we are in looking at what Kevin wrote. Like most folks, I can't stand a thief unless it was the base burglar himself, Lou Brock. Growing up in St. Louis, I was and always will be a true red, because blue was too close to the Cubs, Cardinals fan. And so you talk about the history of, as you are wont to do, being the historian that you are, give all the statistics and all of that. But you also take us back, Kevin, to those days as a kid, listening to that sun-drenched Motorola, sun-bleached Motorola radio, and listening to the moves of Sweet Lou Brock as you sat there munching on your Jolly Rancher candy.
That's right.
And you talked about meeting him, the Brock umbrella, which is that patented umbrella hat that he had.
That's right.
And
That's right.
It was just really good stuff, Kevin. And why I love you, because first of all, you tell a story like nobody else.
Shucks.
I think that you have an unbelievable gift, but I could also hear voices as I was reading your piece.
I hear voices too. I should get that looked at. Nothing wrong with me though.
But it's a great piece, and I thank you for submitting that and for doing that. I really appreciate it. Kevin, I wanted to ask you, because when I first met you, you and I were both working for the Doug Banks show.
Yes.
And your character, Mrs. Leonard, was a popular addition to that show.
Oh, yeah.
And then of course Melvin's Love Lines and All My Children update. What was your first character the first character you created with the voice and all?
That is a good question. It may have been Miss Leonard if we limit it to radio. Because see, it all started just as a kid. I never thought it was just something silly I did. Imagine me doing something silly. And I used to do sometimes various teachers in high school.
Decatur Johnson.
Yes, Decatur
Johnson. It's one of my favorites.
Yes, Mr. Johnson. That's right. You and J. Anthony Brown love the Decatur Johnson stories. Yeah. So and I just do the impersonations of the teachers sometimes, and we get them up out of the detention rooms, and it would cost you 50 cents, but we would do it. But Miss Leonard was and actually I'm going to tell the story on your show, Sybil. That came about because the Cardinals were playing the San Francisco Giants, and Candy Maldonado Candy Maldonado said that St. Louis was a cow town. And that sort of was the rallying cry, for the series. But Jeffrey Leonard, the brother, got Nad
Yes.
for it. So one day we were on the air with the late Don Early Bird Allen, Don Allen.
Mm.
And Don said, well, let's call Jeffrey Leonard and talk to him and see what he says about that ridiculous mark. And I said, well, let's call Jeffrey Leonard's mama. And the rest was, and what came out was, what
Wow.
came out.
Oh
And
my
then that
God.
stuck. And so, yeah, that's how it happened. That's how it started.
Wow. Some of my fondest memories, once again, as we talk about the early days of the Tom Jordan Morning Show, was talking to Mrs. Leonard, and she
Oh,
gave me
yeah.
my own name, which was not what my parents gave
Kibble.
me.
That's what she called you, Kibble. Uh-huh. Sure did. She called you Kibble. She's in the
And
other room. See, she's
I heard her. Yeah, yeah.
doing something
And
strange for a little change, as they say. We'll keep it
and
a family show, Sybil. Yeah.
and she could never get things quite right,
She could never get it right.
as her son Jeffrey
And
indicated as well.
and
Yeah.
see, that came about because I grew up in the same household with my great grandmother, who was born in
Uh-huh.
1884 and died in 1984.
Mm.
And we were we were arguing one day when it said U.S. makes moonshot, and she was saying, no, they didn't. They didn't shoot my God's moon down. No, they didn't. And I'm trying to explain to her, we called her Nanny. And I said, no, Nanny, they didn't shoot the moon down. It's just a phrase, it's a figure of speech, a moonshot. They launched the rock. I don't care what they launched. They ain't shot
My God's moon.
Oh, so and I had a fro then. I could pull hair out then. See?
Really?
Yeah.
And Kevin, where was Melvin born? How did that come about?
We did.
Melvin Pirro.
Yes, Lawrence Gregory Jones, better known as Doc Jones, and I. We were doing this little thing where we went to Prince's house.
Mm-hmm.
And when we pressed the doorbell, I said, let the doorbell sound like the introduction to When Doves Cry. And I kept pressing it to hear it over and over again. But the flight attendant on the plane was Melvin. And then Mike Stratford, my program director, and he, Mike was real kind of monotone. Mike said, hey, Dr. Woodson, he said, you might want to do that again. Talking about the Melvin type character. And so that's where it caught on. And then one day I was actually headed to a rodeo because I was rodeoing all the time on the weekends. And we were behind a transport truck that said Pirro Trucking.
That was it.
The rest is history. I said, that's his name. Pirro. Wow. Melvin Pirro.
Yeah.
And you know what gets me, since we're talking to people, when people are saying, they'll call the jocks up and say, man, I hear you in there doing all them people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, don't you hear the jock talking to another total person? Huh? It's like, okay. As our pal, the late Doug Banks used to say, it's a sock. That's all it is. It's a sock. So,
Kevin, we've barely scratched the surface. I want to talk to you again, and I hope that you will please come back to what you need to know. Because there's so much. As I said, you are a historian, but also your sense of history and your work in the rodeo industry. We need to talk about that as well.
Anytime.
You got great radio stories, all of that stuff, and
I got stories.
And as we said when you came on during the broadcast for my birthday, we just got to get everybody together and and have a one more time in terms of the Tom Jordan Morning Show.
That was good. It was great to see everybody.
It really was, wasn't it? I thank you, my friend. Please come back, and thank you for your friendship, and thank you for your wealth of knowledge, and also thanks for contributing to the What You Need to Know newsletter. I hope you will go and subscribe. Go to SybilWilkes.com and sign up, folks, if you have not. And
what is that address again, Sybil Wilkes?
SybilWilkes.com.
SybilWilkes.com.
Yes. And please subscribe to the What You Need to Know newsletter. And we will see you folks back here tomorrow. Hope you'll join us again tomorrow, Kevin. We have Myra J. and Stephen Hill sitting in with us. And,
Stephen Hill and Myra J.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Talking about the early days, once again, the early days of the Tom Jordan Morning Show.
Look, I'm going to stay right here. I'm not going to leave. I'll be here tomorrow with this Cardinal shirt on. I'm not leaving. I'm not going to miss Stephen Hill and Myra J.
That's right. You can join us and watch us on Facebook Live as well as YouTube Live. Thanks again, Kevin. I appreciate you, darling.
Thank you, Sybil Wilkes, for letting me ruin your show.